Hey backpackers, this is Juan from Juan Backpacks, and I'm here today to talk about the best ultralight gear that I've used during the 2022 season. So this is a look back over the past year and what stuff really performed for me on trail. And you're gonna be surprised about some of this stuff. I'm gonna give you 5 items and then 1 bonus item at the very end. I was even surprised by this bonus item, so you definitely wanna hang around to hear about that thing, because I didn't think I was gonna like it, honestly. I didn't think I was gonna like it, but I ended up loving it. So let's start out with the first piece of gear, and that is this NB 10,000 milliamp battery by Nicor. This thing weighs 5.3 ounces. It's a $59 item, but it will revolutionize your charging world out there. This one has a little bit of extras on it where I've got some stuff here, a holder that holds some of my adapters and so forth. But the battery itself, you can see here, it's a carbon fiber body. I've done a couple videos about it on my YouTube channel, so take a look at that. The thing I like about this, just generally, is it's light. It's got a very small form factor. What I mean by that is it takes up less room in my pack than my other batteries did. It's similar milliamps. And then also it can charge and recharge through 2 different ports, a C and a USB port. I think that's really important because I can actually use 2 cords out, or I can charge one in while I'm charging something else out the other side if I want to. So it's got a lot of different configurations because of that makeup. And so I really like the NB 10,000. I used it on the High Sierra Trail, for example, just this past July, and I was able to recharge a lot of my gear out there for 8 days on the trail pretty easily with this battery. And I still had juice to spare when I came in off of Whitney, out the Whitney portal. So the NB 10,000, take a look at it. It's 60 bucks, little steep, but it can really help you get your kit organized and get charged out there on the trail. Again, got more videos about this on my YouTube channel, so check them out. So the next piece of gear is a piece of gear, honestly, I've had in my kit for 4 years or so. I think it's 4 years. And that is the Gossamer Gear 2. It's a 2-person trekking pole shelter, and that shelter has performed for me incredibly over the last 3 years in particular. I have hundreds of miles in this tent with myself on solo backpacking trips and my son with me sleeping in this tent. He's an adult, so 2 big adults in 1 tent. This tent really has, the ease of setup is great. It's less than 5 minutes. The weight is 31.5 ounces all in with 8 stakes. I stake out 4 corners. I can stake out the front and back, the 2 vestibules because it's a 2-person shelter with 2 entryways. And then I sometimes will pull out the pullouts on the walls of the tent just to give a little bit extra volume, but honestly, it's not needed most of the time. And so it's a great tent. It is made of sil nylon. It is an ultralight trekking pole tent. And again, I've used it for hundreds of miles. I used it on the John Muir Trail, used it on the High Sierra Trail, and here in Pennsylvania, and in the Smokies, and my backpacking trips over the last several years with 2 people in it. Tons of shoulder room, tons of headroom. When I say tons, I really mean that. There's enough room for gear inside the tent for 2 people. You don't have to worry about having to leave gear outside the tent. The vestibules are huge. You can put your pack under there. I even put the last item I'm going to talk about, I put it under the vestibule. It's just a great shelter. Again, my tent with the 8 stakes comes in at 31.5 ounces. And this tent goes for, on the Gossamer Gear website, for $375 right now as this video is being made. So as far as trekking pole tents under 2 pounds, in the weight and so forth, that cost is pretty good for a cottage tent that performs so well. Again, Gossamer Gear 2, love it. Next piece of gear I want to talk about, where'd it go? Lost it. Oh, there it is. It's behind my iPad. This is a small piece of gear, but it has revolutionized my poop kit. If that's possible to revolutionize a poop kit. One of the things I never liked is packing out toilet paper in places where you have to do that. I've done quite a bit of hiking out in the Sierra. As a matter of fact, I probably put more miles in the Sierra in the last 4 years than I have here in my home state of Pennsylvania. And in the vast majority of places out there, you do have to pack out your used toilet paper. So I was looking for solutions to not have to do that, and the bidet was a thing. This is a Kulo Clean bidet. It's literally less than an ounce. I think it comes at like 0.42 ounces, which is less than an ounce. And it fits on a variety of bottles. It's got gaskets lined up the whole way up through. And so it will seal on many different size bottles. You can see how this thing's point, like kind of almost like a pyramid. It narrows down as it goes up. So it fits in a smaller bottle, but bottles that have a little bit bigger opening, it'll slide into those as well. It's got one hole for the water stream to come out. And this has made it so that I don't need to take toilet paper with me. All I need is this less than ounce bidet, this shovel to dig my hole, and then I take one small, like a tiny dropper bottle of Bronner soap for cleanup as well. And the bidet, like I said, has revolutionized my poo kit. It's reduced all the clutter, the things I got to deal with on the trail, and I'm totally loving it, and I'll never go back to using toilet paper. So there you go, the bidet, Kulo Clean. It's $10, so it's a cheap investment. If you like it, great. You only spent, you spent 10 bucks and you like it. If you spent 10 bucks and you don't like it, that's great too, because it's a $10 item. The next item I'm going to talk about, the fourth item, is a pretty big item, and it is the Outdoor Vitals Shadow Light Pack. I picked this up just at the beginning of this year, 2022 year, and here it is. I've got a couple videos on my website about this pack, so I'm not going to go into detail. Some of the things I do like about it and why it's on this list is it's got a roll top. It's got a strap to maybe put some gear on top that you need to dry out during the day and so forth. It's got a really comfortable hip belt with 2 pockets. And I love the adjustability and the way the load lifters work on this. That is key. This thing was great taking my BV500, and it fits a BV500 very comfortably inside this with my other gear. And it carries the weight of like 30 to 35 pounds really well. I've had other 60-liter packs that honestly I've changed away from to go to this pack. And I've gotten the best carry out of this pack, and a lot of it has to do with the frame, the internal frame, and the way that they tie in the straps to the load lifter is really like on point, and it actually does take off the weight off of your shoulders. A lot of companies have load lifters, but all they're really doing is pulling that pack closer to your top of your shoulders. It's not really transferring weight to the frame and then down into your hips because of the way they do it. I'm not going to go into detail on that. I think they actually do a good job on the Outdoor Vitals website. They have a video that talks about that, and it is on point what they're saying, so check that out. But this pack has been great. It's got a zipper entry here, which is unique in packs. I don't use it a lot because I pack my gear from down in through the roll top, and I pack it in a certain order. But for folks who like to get inside their gear real quick, you got it right there, and then you got 2 mesh pockets on the outside. I love this pack for when I'm taking my bear can. Also, when I'm taking additional fishing, fly fishing gear in the backcountry, it gives me a little bit extra room. And I also use this pack in the wintertime when I have bulkier gear. So those are the 3 use cases I have for this particular pack. But the Shadow Light, it comes in at under 2 pounds. It's 31.5 ounces, so it's definitely an ultralight pack. And the price point right now on their website, as I'm making this video, is 215 bucks. So honestly, for a pack that's under 2 pounds that does what this does, that is a pretty darn good price. So that's number 4 on my list of top gear for 2022. And I've had, probably a few hundred miles on this pack now, and my son's had it for over 300 miles of use, and both packs are going strong. The last pack that I have, the 5th item, is another pack, and that's the Gossamer Gear G420. I picked this up at the probably first of the year in 2022, and I used it on some winter trips, and I've used it through the summer here in Pennsylvania on I've got 200 miles on this pack so far. When I hit 300 miles, I'm going to do a full review of the pack. But the reason I really like this pack, and it's been actually my favorite pack. The Shadow Light is great for the 3 use cases I mentioned, but general use for just my ultralight gear in 3 seasons in the summer when I'm not doing a lot of other stuff, this pack has served me extremely well. I like it again because it's a roll top design. I also like this one because you can cinch down the roll top on both sides, and that just really like kind of tightens your gear up in there. It's also got some pulls on the side to tighten up, as does the Shadow Light, so you can, kind of reduce your pack size if you have less gear in there, and just to tighten up to keep it from moving around in your pack. This 40-liter pack, it will handle a BV500. I put my BV500 in here. It is not the most comfortable thing, and it's hard to fit in there unless you really have an ultralight load, I think. But it can be done, and I would do it, quite honestly. I would put a BV500 in here in backpack if I knew I was gonna, use the food really quickly or whatever, and get my weight down. I think this pack really shines in that 25 to 30 pound range. And if you edge up over that, then I feel personally you might be heading into a territory where the load carrying capacity is gonna kind of get a little bit shaky in terms of comfort. But overall, it has a lot of the same features. I like the shelter pocket on the outside, so I can keep my shelter on the outside here if it gets wet and so forth. It's got a huge front pocket back here, the mesh. And then it's got a really nice belt. I love the belt on this. It's got 2 zipper pockets on each side. So it's got tons of stuff, and it's got a pull out here, your pad you can use for a sit pad or whatever. And it does add structure to the pack. This is a frameless pack though. And so, like I said, I think the 25 pound range I've carried loads in 25 pounds and a little bit over that. But I think that once you get to that 30 pound mark and you start to exceed that, you might find it's a little bit uncomfortable. But overall, this is definitely my favorite pack. It's coming in at it's coming in at 23.5 ounces. So that's like 1.5 pounds. And it's retailing on the website right now, Gossamer Gear, for about $195. So it's a pretty reasonably priced pack for something that's ultralight. It's made of silk. I think it's made of some type of nylon, and it's very durable. I've used it a lot, used it more than my Shadow Light, and it's done really well. So that's number 5. Now, I promised you one more item that's a surprise item. It was a surprise to me. What is that item? It is the REI FlexLight Air Chair. Ooh, I went to pick it up and I pulled it up over. And this is a 1 pound chair. Get a load of that. A 1 pound chair that folds down, and it collapses down into a small stuff sack, small tubular stuff sack. It's 1 pound. This chair retails for around $100 in REI. And I bought this thing in probably like early fall. And I bought it because I was gonna be doing a 3-day, 70-mile hike. And I figured that I'd want something to sit down on when I was taking a break, or at the end of the day, just to take a load off my feet. And that hike was in Pennsylvania. And if you know anything about Pennsylvania, it's usually wet, soggy. There's no, like Sierra, I would never take this on a trip to Sierra because there's so many places to sit down, so many boulders. It just doesn't make sense to have an extra pound in your gear load out. But here in, where it's wet, soggy a lot of times in the East Coast and in the Appalachian Mountains, where it's sometimes hard to find something to sit on besides a wet, soggy log, the chair kind of made sense to me. So I just bought it out of a whim and threw it in my pack and used it on that first trip. And it was awesome. And the chair really functions nicely. It is a little bit more laid back than like the Chair Zero that a lot of folks have. It weighs about the same. It's around 1 pound too, but it's cheaper. And so I went for that just because I wanted something a little bit cheaper to start with, right? And so that chair has really become a really good part of my trip. I did the Black Forest Trail, and I took that chair with me. The reason I take it with me is that, I've got a 10-pound base weight just about. And even when I was doing a 20-degree night backpacking trip on the Black Forest Trail just recently, it was 20 degrees at night and in the high 30s, low 40s during the day. Even when I had that extra gear I needed for those temperatures, I could fit the chair in my G420. And so it really just made sense to take it. And my base weight was still 13.5 pounds without food and water. So I'm pushing less than 20 pounds total pack weight with the chair. And so it just made sense for me here on the East Coast to be able to do that. And I think I'll continue to carry it on, you know, trips of a few days. But if I'm doing a true long-term, you know, couple week, you know, through hike of some trail, definitely if I'm going out to Sierra, I'm not going to carry the chair with me. But, you know, as long as I'm doing, you know, shorter trips, few day trips and covering like 15 to 20 miles a day, I got no problem carrying that, you know, chair along with me. So that's the surprise, 16 ounce, $100 FlexLight Air Chair by REI. So those were my favorite backpacking pieces of gear of 2022. If you have some favorites, post up below. I'd like to hear about them. Maybe there's something I need to know about out there that's cool. So go ahead and post up below. Or if you have any experience with this gear, you liked it, didn't like it, thought it was dumb, go ahead and say that too. So until next time, backpackers, get out there, do some backpacking, do some hiking. Stop watching YouTube videos. Waste your time doing that. Get outside, unless they're my videos. Then watch them all from start to finish. Later.